Welcome to What's Working in Video. My name is Kathleen Celmins. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Amplified Now, a video content marketing agency that focuses on getting your expertise out on video and repurposing it 8 ways to Sunday so that you can get out of your own way with content production. With me, I have Megan. Megan, would you like to introduce yourself and your company?
Sure. So I'm Dr. Megan Fisk, and I help soul-led entrepreneurs and leaders overcome public speaking fear and finally get their message out there. So Kathleen and I were chit-chatting about how I'm really that step before you need Kathleen. So if you've ever been like, what the heck am I even going to say in a video? How am I ever going to get on camera? And need that extra accountability and push to do it, I'm your gal.
Cool. So tell me about your background. How did you get started in this?
Sure. So I finished my PhD in communication back in 2015, and then knew I wanted to do entrepreneurship, but I wasn't quite sure. And I was in the nonprofit space for a while, did a whole bunch of different things. And then I came across all of these online course providers through an entrepreneurship class that I was taking at the time. And I was like, oh, wait, they need a lot of help with public speaking because so many mindset issues come up when you try and get on camera. And then there's what am I actually going to say and how am I going to structure it once you get the ability to get on camera. It was really just a passion of mine is public speaking. I've been doing it since I was 14. I've spoken in front of 15,000 people at my college graduation to all kinds of different types of public speaking myself. And so I really enjoy working with folks that are at the early stages and really ready to get their message out there, but aren't quite sure what they're even going to do with it yet.
What do you see as one of the biggest mindset challenges that people face before they're ready to speak?
Yeah, I think there's one that comes up a lot for people is that they think no one cares what they have to say, right? I'm just another, I think you work primarily with course creators, right? Or other online service providers. And it's I'm just another one, what makes me unique? What makes me special? And those sorts of thoughts. And the thing is there's no one else like you. You're your unique selling point, and the more you can do to build that connection with others. And I firmly believe that video is the best way to build the know, like, and trust factor that we hear about all the time in the online marketing world. Video is the best way to do it, and it's the fastest way, and it's going to convert more. So you have to really accept that you're your unique selling point. And really walk into that ownership of that. And what is it that you're here to say in this moment? What's that one truth that needs to be expressed?
Yep, I agree with that. I think imposter syndrome comes up a lot with people. Who am I to say this? Who am I? And I run across that so much myself, and I have not PhD level background tricks and hacks for myself, where I've come across it with writing, where I feel like I don't have anything new to say. And then I remember that there was nothing new to say in Shakespeare's time. And
yeah, totally agree.
Or I'll find somebody else who's in a similar space, who's farther ahead of me, and I will reverse engineer them. Usually they're ordinary people that have a few more years of experience. It's usually not they breathe rarefied air and it's all just accessible to the rest of us. How did you transition?
Yeah, no, I mean, you talk about imposter syndrome, that I think is I always knew I wasn't going to be an academic. I started my PhD when I was 21. I was done by the time I was 26. And halfway through, I was I hate this. The idea of writing peer-reviewed research for the rest of my life seemed very miserable, but it was totally imposter syndrome. And a lot of people's advice to overcoming imposter syndrome is just fake it until you make it. Just pretend, right? And so I was really great at faking it until I made it. But what happened then as I get to the end of my PhD, I've made it. I've got the dream job you're supposed to have, but it wasn't my dream, right? I had faked it until I had become something that I was never supposed to be. So I knew then that I needed to change something. I also don't really get along with any managers that I've ever had. So I'm like,
so many of us in the entrepreneur world are wholly unemployable.
Totally. And I just hate the idea of someone telling me what to do so much. So I did think for a while I wanted to do either like international development work, and that was like my PhD background. And then I was like, oh, maybe I'll start my own nonprofit or that sort of thing. So it was some trial and error. But what really like cemented it for me was, so I was in the entrepreneurship class I spoke about earlier was Gabby Bernstein's. She's like a spiritual teacher, like new age philosophy type person. And I was like with all of these other women that she was coaching at the time. And I was just like, the skill set that I have is what they need, right? It was really, I saw this gap in like, oh, they're putting out so much amazing content in the world. And like, I'm fascinated with how society changes. That's why I got into doing a PhD in the first place. And I really believe that it's the online coaches, particularly spiritual teachers, transformational life coaches, yoga teachers, whose stories need to be told right now, because the only way we're ever going to create change in society is by going, like, I guess the new age way of saying it is awakening more people, but it's turning more people inward to look at their self-limiting beliefs and how they can make an impact in the world and all of that. And there's no one else that can do it except for personal development folks, right? Like that's the messages we need to be highlighting right now. So I come from this like very firm belief that that's what needs to happen in the world. And so just applied my skill set to that group.
Okay, two profound things I had from takeaways from that. One, if you fake it until you make it, what you make is not yourself. And that, to me, I've never heard that like distilled down like that. And that is so profound, so life-changing for me. Like, that's such a cool, like, the rest of that sentence. And two, does having a PhD help you with imposter syndrome today?
No, totally not.
Okay, good. See, we're changing lives, right? So if you think it's gonna help, Dr. Megan just saved you 7 years of your life.
Right? Yeah. No, because honestly, for a long time, I didn't even want to use my PhD in my marketing. Like it took 2 different coaches telling me, no, Megan, like you're all about your unique selling point. Like that is a part of you. And I'm like, yeah, but like no one really cares. Like it's more what results do I get from my clients? Like, I increased my clients' monthly income by $5,000 by doing better video marketing. And they're like, I'm like, that's what I want to lead with. And they're like, yeah, and your website should be drmeganfisk.com. I was using my middle name for a long time. And it was such a mindset thing for me. And frankly, what it comes down to is I was afraid what all of my academic friends were going to think. Like that was the bigger, like, oh, who am I to like not be pursuing this ideal academic life type thing. But now that I'm still like out there and bold about it, more often than not, my friends that are still professors are like, hey, Megan, so I want to publish this book. How do I go about like building an audience? Like asking me all of these marketing questions. And I'm like, yeah, let me help you. Like I'll show you the way now.
Yeah, so, I love that. I do think it's partly building yourself a taller platform and then just like building the leg strength to get up to it.
Totally.
Dr. Megan, how do people get in touch with you if they are a coach or a consultant or a digital product creator who needs help with some mindset issues to get ready to get on stage? Is that?
Yeah. So it's a little bit also like the practicing public speaking side of things too. So my signature program is called Soul Speakers Academy. That's a 3-month group coaching program where we build out the 5 speeches that you're going to use time and time again. So your speech of introduction, your promotional speech, those types of things. So the best place to find me is drmeganfisk.com. And then I also host a Toastmasters alternative. So, Toastmasters has been around for like 100 years and you go and you practice your speech, but not to offend all of the Toastmasters out there, it's a really outdated style of speaking that doesn't translate online very well, as much as they're trying to make it work with this whole post-COVID world. And frankly, a lot of the people I work with aren't accepted in Toastmasters. So the idea of going and like sharing, about the healing power of crystals with all of these guys that do middle management in corporations, like that's not going to be helpful feedback for you. So that's called 777 Club, and it's also on my website.
Cool. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. This was so fun.
And we'll link to your stuff. If people are watching this on YouTube, we'll link to it down below in the show notes, but also it'll be up on the blog. So thanks so much.
Thanks.